the Cut Block Podcast, where we cut through the noise and keep it real. Just because a cut block is legal doesn't make it right. Kind of like Corey Hoag's takes. Now, here's your host, Corey Hoag.
Thank you, Jesse, and welcome to the Cut Block Podcast. This week, we're cutting through the noise and getting real about answering your questions with a midseason mailbag. Then we're heading into the Gridiron Briefing Room, where I'll be joined by UTRGV head coach Travis Bush. The Vaqueros are in their first season in school history and already lighting up the scoreboard. Dominant wins, electric crowds, and a home field advantage most programs dream of. We're going to dive into how this team was built from the ground up and why the Valley might be the toughest place to play in the Southland. And, of course, we're closing things out with the weekend warm map. It's my personal viewing schedule for the weekend. My name is Corey Hoag, proprietor of CoreyHoagSports.substack.com, CORYHOGUE sports.substack.com, and find me on social media at Corey Hoag Sports. Simple search, you should be able to find it. Just remember, the E is at the end of Hoag and not in the first name of Corey. It's CORYHOGUE sports. Also, please like, subscribe, review this podcast wherever you find it, wherever you're listening. It is so helpful to get this out and help spread non-FBS coverage throughout the state of Texas. And as always, thank you so much for your support. Well, we've hit that point in the season where teams start to show who they really are. The pretenders are fading, the contenders are rising. In Texas non-FBS football, the gap between those two groups is starting to widen. I opened up the mailbag this week to get a sense of what y'all are seeing, and as always, your questions were fantastic, thoughtful, sharp, and straight to the heart of what's happening across this great state. The first one I want to tackle today is about the Lone Star Conference. I've been asked more than once if there's anybody on the same level as UTPB, Angelo State, or Central Washington. And I'll be honest, no. Those three have completely separated themselves from the rest of the league, and everyone else is fighting to keep up. UTPB has turned into a legitimate national contender. They're sitting at number 4 in the latest D2Football.com poll, and they've got that look, a team that believes it can win every single Saturday. But Angelo State is still talented, and they haven't quite had that same edge that we saw a couple years ago, but they're still going to be trouble down the stretch. And Central Washington is scoring 60 points a game and only allowing about 11. That's not a typo. 60 to 11. They're absolutely rolling right now. The next few weeks will define that race. Central Washington heads to Odessa to face UTPB this weekend, then host Angelo State in November. And with how loaded the Super Region 4 is, 9 of the top 20 teams in the nation are from Super Region 4, and they're all fighting for just 8 playoff spots. Even great teams are going to get left out this year. If I had to call it today, I think UTPB wins the league, especially if they win this weekend. Central Washington can sneak in as an at-large if they don't win this weekend. And Angelo State, I think they just barely missed. The schedule just doesn't line up well for them. But that battle is going to be one of the best storylines anywhere in college football down the stretch. And as always, I could be very wrong. Now let's move to the FCS level, because this race might even be even more fascinating. Before the season started, I thought 5 Texas teams had a shot to make the playoffs. At the halfway point, we're down to 4 real contenders: Tarleton, Abilene Christian, Lamar, and Stephen F. Austin, who eliminated UIW from this conversation last Saturday. Tarleton looks like the real deal. They're deep, balanced, experienced, and confident. And that's a mix that wins games in November and December. They've got national semifinal potential, and I don't say that lightly. SFA, meanwhile, has the friendliest path to the postseason. Their schedule sets up nicely for them to finish 10-2 with only 1 FCS loss. which should get them a home game to start the playoffs. And if you've ever been inside Homer Bryce Stadium when that place is packed, you know it's a tough trip for anybody. I think the Jacks win one playoff game before running into one of the national heavyweights. But that's still a strong season and a good step forward for Colby Carthel's group. Hey, Lamar deserves some love, too. What Coach Pete Rossimondo has done down in Beaumont is nothing short of impressive. The Cardinals are 4-0 against FCS opponents, but November is going to decide who they really are. They have trips to UIW, SFA, plus home games against a really good Southeastern Louisiana, and then the border battle, right, McNeese? It's a gauntlet. We'll find out quickly if they're a playoff team. When it's all said and done, I think Texas gets two teams in the FCS playoffs, Tarleton and SFA. And I won't be shocked if the Texans make a serious national run. Now, a lot of you have also asked about United Athletic Conference expansion rumors, and the reports are real. The UAC knows it needs to grow, especially with Tarleton openly talking about an eventual FBS move. My sources say the conference is targeting a few regional fits. UT Martin is one. Southeast Missouri could be another, maybe even a Southern Illinois. And inside Texas, the one name that makes perfect sense is UTRGV. The Vaqueros have built an incredible foundation in just 1 year. They've invested in football the right way. You could feel the energy down there. That's the kind of program any conference would love to add. The UAC can't afford to sit still, and I expect them to add at least 2 or 3 schools soon to stabilize for the next round of realignment. Before we move on, let me quickly touch on some Division III. This week's Mary Hardin-Baylor Hardin-Simmons matchup is one of the best rivalries in college football. But this season, it might be winner take all for the playoffs. The ASC is probably only getting one bid. And Trinity's the other team from Texas that looks safe out of the Southern Athletic Association. So that's where we stand at midseason. Tarleton's a national threat. UTPB's chasing a conference title. SFA is fighting back into form, and UTRGV's already turned heads in their first year. The landscape of Texas non-FBS football is as competitive, unpredictable, and exciting as it's ever been. Up next, we're going to head into the Gridiron Briefing Room where I'll be joined by head coach Travis Bush from UTRGV. But first, I want to let you know the Cut Block Podcast is listener supported, and if you have the means, I'd be honored to have you as a paying subscriber over at CoreyHoagSports.substack.com. Paid subscribers get every story delivered right to their inbox. Annual subscribers get 6 months free, and founding members, I like to call you all-stars, receive early access to posts that are not breaking news, plus my undying love and gratitude. I'm joined now by UTRGV head coach Travis Bush. Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of, I know it's a busy schedule you've got going, to join us here on the podcast today.
Yeah, good time. It's actually our bye week, so it's good time to do it. But no, excited to visit with you.
Awesome. Well, I want to start with what you and your staff have done in such a short time is absolutely remarkable. First season school history, sold out crowds. Team looked like it's been playing together for years. I want to go back to the beginning. And when you look back now, what was the biggest challenge in building this program from scratch?
People have asked that, and the easiest answer, there has not been many challenges because of the way our administration has set this thing up, and our president and our athletic director, their commitment to excellence, the way the way this thing was funded, the facilities, the plan, the timeline, the things they've allowed us to do as a staff. That's been so. We've made things so much smoother starting out. The big challenge overall was just the unknown, and having been there, first started with the staff. What kind of staff would we be able to get down here? Not a lot of people not being familiar with the Rio Grande Valley. Where is this going to go? Weren't in a conference yet, but as things started unfolding with conference alignment, with the facilities, with the stadium and everything, and then the next hurdle was recruiting, and we got that first class down here. Majority of high school athletes, last fall, practiced with a year, and then the next hurdle was going to be building the roster and trying to balance the roster as quickly as we could through the transfer portal. And that thought we did a good job, a decent job. Credit to our coaching staff on that. But that would be that was a key piece. We knew at the end of last fall that would be that would be the opportunity for us to be able to compete with some of these teams sooner than later, was being able to get some upperclassmen in here and balance out our roster like everybody else. But we're still young. We still got majority young guys, redshirt freshmen and sophomores on our roster. But to bring in some of the juniors and seniors that have really helped us out and given us a chance here to start out.
Most definitely. You mentioned that first recruiting class. I want to go back to that, because when you first brought them in, there wasn't really a facility. It was just a vision at that point. What was the message that you were able to sell those players on to believe in what you were building?
Yeah, and that's what you look at the staff and the guys that came down here in the first class. I mean, the big thing, the first key was opportunity. They had the opportunity, new Division I team. We were going to have everything at some point. We were going to have facilities. We were going to have a stadium. We were going to have everything every other Division I team has. And we always told them the thing we don't have is returning starters. So that opportunity to play, opportunity to be a part of something as well. And then you look at, again, the chance to make history, chance to do something for the first time. A lot of them were intrigued about that, knowing that everything they do here is going to be a part of history. And then the third piece was the Rio Grande Valley, and most people not knowing about the Valley and just knowing what they see on the news, thinking it's just border communities. But, once we got them down here and they saw campus, they see that it's a metroplex with 2 million people, and you got everything down here you have in San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and guys fell in love with it. So same thing with guys from out of state and the transfers. So that's been a good piece. But really that opportunity to play, to be a part of something special, and then just the location.
We'll get into the Valley in a minute, because it is just a fantastic place. But first, I want to ask you, what moment did it hit you that UTRGV football was actually real and not just some idea anymore?
Probably when we ran out of the tunnel for the first game, So, but now it's been a fun process, and really enjoying and made a commitment to enjoy the process, regardless of how things went. Enjoy the process, the building, the relationships that we've built through this time of just building all the facilities, the planning, the vision, the recruiting, the hiring. Watching these young guys that came here on a vision, second year here, and they're making plays in conference games for us, and just overall and the growth. Every day we're growing, every week we're growing, and we're going to continue to grow. And it's like raising children, and everything we do is a learning opportunity to get better, to learn from what we're doing right, to learn from where we got to improve. But it's been a great process, and just really trying to slow down some days and enjoy every minute of it.
For those of us who have not had a chance to make it down to the Valley for a game yet, every game is sold out. The energy is amazing. The people are incredible. But how can you describe, for those of us who have not been able to experience it, the game day atmosphere in Edinburgh, and what makes that area so special?
It's the passion, the people, the passion for football, and just the way they rally behind their football teams. You go back and the way they rally around their high school football teams, and then you see as they get in the playoffs in Texas, the last couple of teams that are left, the entire Valley rallies around them. So it's been unique to see everybody come together. I've always said nothing brings people more together in the world than sports. And so to watch the Valley just rally, and it's an event, and it's not just a game, but a chance for the Upper Valley, Lower Valley. The tailgating is phenomenal. I mean, you can smell the fajitas and pregame warm up. Music's going on. We had mariachis in the end zone, a couple weeks ago for the Heritage Night. But it's a fun atmosphere. People love, they love to party down here. They love to cook. So it's a great atmosphere. Everyone, the teams love it. The refs love it. Everyone talks about coming down here, but it's you guys need to come to a game down here and check it out for yourself.
It's on my list. I have got to get down there one of these weekends and experience that in person. I just can't imagine. Everything I hear about is just incredible. you've had some very dominant wins already and have surprised a lot of people, myself included. I was a bit skeptical about how the first season would go because I understand how hard it is to kind of build the program from the start. But with that success you've had, how do you balance celebrating that early success with keeping those players focused and grounded on the long-term goals?
Well, first thing, you go start conference play at Southeastern Louisiana on the road and get hit in the teeth a little bit and realize that, yeah, it's a different level. But, it's just proud of our guy. And we're growing. Like I said, everything's a growing opportunity. And, we didn't know what this team would look like back when we made this schedule a couple of years ago in non-conference, but definitely, was pleased. And for me, everything's kind of unknown and evaluating. We go back to the first game. I didn't know how we were going to look, what we were going to look like as a team. Came out and looked pretty good as a first team, executed well. And then, had no idea how we were going to go on the road and play our first Division I team. And so to go in there and face adversity and see those guys have the poise and confidence to come from behind and win in the fourth quarter on the road the first time out, that was pleasing. And then, came back home and then, and you hit that mode, you play some teams that, that we were better than. And guys felt pretty good about themselves. And, then we kind of got exposed on some things going to Southeast Louisiana there. But really, go back in that conference game and everything's moving at a different speed and, things are moving fast early, get down 21-0, but then to watch them, catch up to the speed, come back, go toe to toe in the second half, match the physicalness, match the speed of the game there and kind of make a little game out of it was really a great learning opportunity for us to show that, there are signs that we can compete in this conference right now. Now we don't have much room for error. And then to see them learn from that, come back home and really, have a dominant performance there, Saturday night and to win the first conference game. So great open week, great learning lessons. You got a couple of games in our belt, comes at the right time, need to get healthy in some spots, need to continue to improve on some details. But again, they've got to, learn some things and got some confidence about themselves. What maybe we can, see how we can stack up here in the second half of the season.
That was a fantastic win last week over Houston Christian, the way you guys have done it. I think what's most impressive to me is the depth. That's the thing that's always the hardest to build when you're with a program that is already established, much less starting one. How have you been able to build that depth? And is that something maybe you're still trying to kind of get built as well?
Yeah, I think, because we feel like we're not very deep because we're so young in so many areas, but we're going to have to count on these guys. And really, if you come out to practice, we two-spot a lot of stuff. It's like a high school practice where we got one group on one field, almost like a varsity JV, and everyone's getting reps. Everyone's getting the same reps, the same scripts. So everyone can keep in a rhythm of running what we need to run and learning the system, because we're going to have to constantly count on some of those guys here down the road and still looking at guys in different positions as we learn about ourselves. We hadn't seen any of these guys in games yet. So, it took 3-4 games to get the right guys in the right spots on kickoff and punt and things like that. But, definitely just coaching and developing, we coach everybody, just like we did in high school. We're coaching the guys that are 4th and 5th on the depth chart is same as we're coaching the guys at the 1s and 2s, and they're all getting reps. And we're all getting better and continue to develop every week.
That's not something that I've seen very often, that you have the two different groups. Say you got the 1s, 2s, 3s on one and 4, 5, 6s on another field, kind of like you said, a high school practice. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that idea from? And that sounds like something that moving forward, you can keep applying and build this program even better.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of people do it, I think, and just being around, learning as much as we can, and seeing other people. But really, kind of goes back to the high school roots of developing everybody. Well, how do you develop? You get it; they all get reps, and you find ways to be creative in practice. And it's hard because coaches are split up, and it's more effort on the coaches. But definitely, what's best for these young men and these program, and we'll do a lot of good on. So a lot of good on good. We'll still split up and do our scout team stuff, but probably not as much as a lot of people. Cause one, we still got to learn to play football, and going good on good right now and getting the best look we can get from our ones and twos against each other is the best thing we can do to get ready for the speed of the game on Saturday. But, definitely just that mentality of coaching everybody, developing everybody, which stems from just being a high school coach.
Okay, you mentioned your staff earlier, and you put together a fantastic staff. How important have they been in laying the foundation and helping to establish this culture that you've wanted for the program?
Just humongous. I mean, that was the biggest key, and that was the key in looking for the right guys. It wasn't just hiring coaches; it was hiring the right guys that kind of knew what they were getting into, knew what this was going to be about. It was going to be a hard job. It's still a hard job. It's probably the hardest in the nation because there's so much more we had to do, especially starting out, in the first group when it's just that original crew, which was just 4 or 5 of us, and recruiting that whole first class by ourselves and being on the road. And then just all the different things, just driving that culture every single day. That whole first year, we had to be the seniors. We had to be the leaders. We had to be the role models and continue to do that on a daily basis. So, and now you're starting to see the team take over that, and team is taking over that leadership and accountability. But definitely it starts with us. And we talk about, we knew we wanted to, make it more than football. It still goes back to coaching high school mentality, and we want to develop men, and whether we have them here for 4 months or 4 years, we want to pour into them. We teach character leadership daily, and really try to develop these guys for the next 40 years of their life and not just the next 4. And so getting coaches that bought into that and knowing that, hey, all that stuff, the same things we're teaching there is what's going to help us win football games. But, there's still so much out of our control that it's not just going to be about winning and losing games. It's going to be about developing these guys for their futures for the rest of their life. And phenomenal staff, and they buy into it, and they work their tails off. And, it's been a blessing to have them around. And in reality, they're probably not going to be here long because they're good coaches, and there's some opportunities going to come up, and we know that's part of it, and hope they do. But same thing. They've bought in and laid the foundation and show the way every day for these young men.
I see it all the time on your social media. Win the day. You're always posting those motivational things. It's fantastic to see. And you mentioned how that leadership, some of the players are taking it on. The face of a football program on the field typically is the quarterback. It's the most, prominent position that everyone knows. And you've got a guy, Eddie Lee Marburger, who has done a fantastic job. What have you seen from him? And not just how he operates the offense, but how he operates the huddle, the locker room, and everyone around.
He really exhibits everything we want to build in our, in the culture. But he's a tough competitor with great work ethic, and he's tough. He's mentally tough. He's physically tough, and such a great competitor. And you saw that we had to put the ball in his hands there in the second half and let him kind of take over that game. And that's the mentality he has, the leadership he has. But that's been his biggest keys. Again, the things you can't coach, all the off the field stuff. That's what he brings to the table. I mean, obviously his performance on the field speaks for itself, but it's what he is in the locker room and how he leads this team. He gels this team. We talk about unity and chemistry being the secret around here, and really, working, being intentional about building that daily within the program. But just a phenomenal leader from the day he stepped on campus. And with the humility, he walked in spring training and started out as the number 3 quarterback, and didn't take him long, but he proved on a daily basis he deserved to be the starter, and he continues to prove that every day.
That's awesome. So last question I have for you. You mentioned the second half of the season coming up, and this remaining schedule is a very challenging schedule. So how do you go about approaching each week to keep that momentum going and, potentially surprise some of the top teams in the Southland? Because I have a feeling no one's going to take you lightly now the rest of the year.
Yeah. Really, it's the same thing we do. We talk about, again, we focus one day at a time, being the best we can be, being 1-0 at the end of the day, winning the day. And then each week's a 1-week season. Right now we don't have a game, but we're still focused on getting better and being 1-0 at the end of this week, and handling the decisions, the choices, and the attitudes we have and how we work this week. But we'll just attack it 1 week at a time. We know that, again, there's opportunities there. We got to feel like we got a pretty good team, a decent team right now. We're 5-1, but you look at our schedule, we could easily be 5-7, and that's the reality of it. And we know that, but it's going to be just taking 1 week at a time. And we're going to be on the road first. We'll probably play our first ranked opponent. Lamar is going to be ranked in the top 25 still. I think SFA is going to be there. You got Incarnate Word, you got the defending conference champ, and then you got McNeese, Nichols, and East Texas. So everybody, it's a dogfight. Now you're getting into October, November. Everybody's fighting for the same prize, and some guys got their backs against the wall. Some guys are sitting up at the top. So it's going to be week in, week out, and that's why I love the Southland Conference. Played in it, coaching in it. It's such a competitive conference, and there's some good football teams, but really anybody can beat anybody, and that's really a message we're trying to sell. We still don't know how good we can be. How good are we? We don't know. I think Southeast is one of the top teams in the conference. Hey, we just went toe to toe with them, and Houston Christian is a good team in this conference, and at times we dominated them. So where can we go? There's still growth in our team that's going to happen, but the reality of it, the schedule's hard, the schedule's tough. So it's going to boil down to who's the best team in the 3-hour window on Saturdays. And we're all working for the same thing, but making sure that we focus on ourselves and just work to be as good as we can day in, day out, and try to put our best out there on Saturdays.
Well, you guys have certainly made the Southland Conference better. A lot more fun with those sellout crowds you have down there. Coach, it's just incredible. It's so much fun to watch this program take off and see your vision come to life and the vision of all those around you come to life and how the Valley's rallied behind it. Thanks again so much for your time and carving the time out of your schedule for this, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate you, Corey. Thank you so much.
Stay connected with me on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and more. Just search at Corey Hogue Sports. You can also reach me directly by email at CoreyHogueSports@gmail.com. It's time for the weekend warm-up. It's your tactical guide to Texas non-FBS football this Saturday. All times are central, and as always, this rundown honors my Army days, so everything is listed using the 24-hour clock. We kick off the day in Georgetown, where Southwestern hosts Sewanee on the Southwestern Pirates YouTube channel. Both teams are 0-1 in the SAA and desperate for a win. The Pirates were overwhelmed by Trinity last week, while Sewanee got handled at home by Maryville. Injuries have piled up for the Pirates, but this is a winnable matchup, and both teams need it badly with title contenders ahead on the schedule. At 1300 hours, all eyes shift east as Abilene Christian heads to West Georgia in a massive UAC showdown on ESPN+. The Wolves started their FCS transition, second season of FCS transition, with 5 straight wins, something only North Dakota State has done before. Before falling last week to Austin Peay, though, ACU rebounded from its loss to UIW with a strong 52-23 win over North Alabama. But the Wildcats have struggled on the road, going just 8-9 in FCS games away from Abilene under Keith Patterson. The key stat here, ACU's defense is allowing UAC opponents to convert just 7 of 28 third down attempts. That's 25%. If they can force West Georgia into long yardage situations and protect quarterback Stone Earl from turnovers, they've got a real shot to steal one on the road. But make no mistake, they'll need to play a clean, disciplined football game to pull it off. Also kicking off at 1300, it's the renewal of one of Texas's great rivalries, Mary Hardin Baylor and Hardin Simmons on HSU's All Access channel, which you can find on hsuathletics.com. The Cowboys have won 3 of the last 4 in the series, including both regular season games last year. Crusader fans will remind you they won the one that mattered the most in the playoffs. This year, neither team has looked invincible. UMHB's defense has given up at least 21 points in every game, and HSU started slow before finding its rhythm in the last 2 weeks. The ASC champion will almost certainly be the only team from Texas D3 making the playoffs this season, so every snap in this rivalry matters. This Saturday won't decide the title, but it'll put the winner in the driver's seat heading into the rematch in Belton in November. Also at 1500 hours, we're heading out to the JUCO rinks, where Navarro visits Trinity Valley in a crucial SWJC FC matchup on the Cardinal Sports Network found on Trinity Valley's YouTube channel. Navarro has built a 3-0 conference record and had a week off to recover after TWA College canceled their contest against them. Trinity Valley just rolled through Blinn, and they're finding form at the right time. Both these teams are battling for playoff seedings, and in this league, every inch matters. The regular season champion hosts both the semifinal and the final. So while this game won't clinch anything, it could be one that decides who's sleeping in their own beds come playoff time. Then at 1700, we shift over to watch Trinity hitting the road to face Barry in what might be the SAA Championship preview on BarryVikings.com. The winner of this matchup has either outright won or shared the league title every year since 2016. Trinity's defense has been lights out, just 9 points allowed per game. And sophomore Hondo Franklin has settled in nicely at quarterback. Barry, though, that's a dangerous team, especially at home. And they're averaging more than 50 points per game in their wins against Division III opponents. Expect this one to be physical, tight, and decided late. At 1800 hours, it's the heavyweight bout of the day. Central Washington at UTPB in Odessa. You can find that on Flow College. The Falcons are coming off a statement win over Angelo State, while the Wildcats scored 91 points on Western New Mexico the last time they left the Pacific Northwest. 91. And they put up 52 in the first half against an Eastern New Mexico squad that runs the flex bone last week. Both teams are elite on defense, too, so something's got to give. This game could very well decide the Lone Star Conference title and who grabs that all-important automatic playoff bid. Expect a chess match between UTPB's defense, which has only allowed 10 red zone trips all year, and CWU's video game offense led by quarterback Kennedy McGill. Whoever wins this one controls their destiny the rest of the way. Also at 1800, we've got a classic SWAC showdown, Texas Southern at Grambling on ESPN+. TSU's offense has caught fire, putting up 51 points on Arkansas Pine Bluff last week, while Grambling needs this win badly to stay in the West Division race. Both are still chasing Prairie View A&M, so the margin for error is shrinking fast. And we close out the night at 1900 hours in Kingsville, where Angelo State and Texas A&M Kingsville both look to bounce back on Flow College. The Rams fell to UTPB last week, while the Javelinas let one slip away at Midwestern State after leading in the fourth quarter. Turnovers and red zone execution doomed both teams last week, and special teams doomed Kingsville as well. So whoever cleans that up first likely walks away with the win in this. It is gut check time for both programs. So there you have it. Your weekend warm-up for Saturday, October 11th. From Georgetown to Kingsville and everywhere in between, the Texas Non-FBS battlefield is heating up. Find more about some of these biggest games of the weekend inside Thursday's weekend warm-up on Substack, and I'll have instant reaction and post-game breakdowns on Sunday on CoreyHoagSports.substack.com. So stay hydrated, stay locked in, and as always, enjoy the battle. That'll do it for this edition of the Cut Block Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me wherever you're finding or watching. I truly appreciate it. I'll be back soon with another episode, bringing you more of my unfiltered thoughts and truth and fearless football talk. Until then, stay safe. And remember, just because it's legal doesn't make it right. Just like my takes.
Thank you for listening to the Cut Block Podcast with Corey Hoag. Remember, the cut block might be legal, but that doesn't make it right. just like Corey Hope's takes.